For this project, we're going to be drawing a cardinal on watercolor paper, and we will be using salt to make it look like there is snow in the background. When the salt mixes with the wet water, it sucks up the color around it, and then it creates kind of this crystallized look. So you will need paper, crayons, watercolor, and some table salt. Have fun with this one. For your cardinal drawing, your paper can go tall or wide, it's up to you. I'm going to have mine go tall. The first thing we're going to start with is what looks like a shark fin. So I kind of made a curved line on the right, and this one almost goes straight down but slightly curved in. Then I'm going to bring this first line down a little bit and make a letter C for the beak. Let's turn our paper, make a letter V attached to that. Then for the body, we start right under the nose, come down and curve it around, like a big letter J. It's going to look like an angry bird at first. Then back here, we come down and curve around and connect. Eyeball. And cardinals kind of have a black beard. So I start right above the beak, come up, almost touch the eyeball, come down and around. In the wing, you can do it one of two ways. Here's the first way, curve line in like a smiley face, curve line up like a frowny face, or you could have it more like a fin-looking wing, whichever one you choose. I'm going to add some lines in here. It's usually in the wings. In the tail feathers, you see longer feathers. Right at the belly, we're going to have the branch come up. It doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line. And off the page. Then from the back side, across and off the page. That looks like a string, so we need to turn it into a branch where there's more thickness. We're going to come below it, copy the thickness, and then I'm going to add more of a branch off to the side. Our bird doesn't look completely done yet, so what we need to do is add the feet. I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The tail will drape behind the branch, so 2 lines down. If it goes off the paper, that's okay. If it doesn't, you're going to make the letter M. And then the top of these up and touch the branch. And you are done with your pencil. The next step is going to be to trace our lines with crayon, since we will be using watercolor paint. I need to make sure I get the correct red. That one was red-violet, so I read that it's red. For my cardinal, trace my cardinal. Going to trace my branch, pressing hard with the crayon, and to show texture lines in the branch that has bark, I'm just going to add some lines with the brown. Then for the beak and the feet, it's up to you what color you want. I'm going to use orange. And you can color the beak and the feet in, because they're so tiny that the paint might mess it up. And then you'll need a black for the beard, the eye, and more details in the branch. Black in the beard. And you can color that in, because that would be hard to do with the paint. Eyeball. And then we're ready for watercolor. Oh, nope. Some lines in the branch for texture. Then we're ready for watercolor. So for this, you'll need watercolor paint and a little bit of salt, like kitchen table salt works. First thing we want to paint is our bird, obviously red, and the reason we did crayon was because our watercolor paint goes right over that crayon. Don't forget the tail. A lot of people forget to paint the tail. Take your time. And then the branch. I'm going to use some brown and black. So wash my brush out, get some brown. I'm going to get some black. Now if it's too much black, like that, I can wash my brush out and just spread it around. Okay, after we're done with our bird and our branch, we'll let it dry a little bit. Then we're ready for our background. I'm going to do a sunset, so I'm going to start with yellow. Paint yellow on the bottom. Have some of the yellow kind of come up. Then I would go to orange. Red. Next would be violet. And then some blue. Now while this is still wet, like all this is still wet down here, I'm going to grab a little bit of salt and sprinkle it on my paper. Just a little bit. If you put too much, it's not going to work. I'm going to fill this section in next, because if I would wait, like I said, if it's too dry, it's not going to work. So I'm going to get some violet up in there in the sky. I'm going to get some blue. And then if it does dry out, what you can do is just wet your brush again and activate that paint. A little bit of salt. Now I might have put too much water. That's why it's bleeding into my branch. So I'm going to squeeze my brush out. And I can use it almost like a vacuum. So I don't get paint everywhere. I'm going to turn my paper. Finish painting the rest of it with the violet. And the blue. Kind of mixing it, being careful not to paint inside my bird. A lot of water. Some blue. A little bit of salt, and when the salt dries, it's going to make it look like snowflakes. Remember, if we put too much like I accidentally did there, it's not going to work that great. All right, and then your cardinal painting is done.